Hello, my kohais. Hope you're all doing well. I'm your host, Tyrannosenpai, and welcome to another episode of Prehistoric Kingdom Speed Builds. And today we're going to be wrapping up the African dinosaur sector of the park with the herbivore Ouranosaurus. So, you know how we're going to start this. We're going to start, by marking down the path, which is going to be our outline for where the enclosure is going to be, and painting in the terrain where I see fit. And we look up the Ouranosaurus needs. Apparently, we need a medium strength fence, and I decided, we're going to use some of the new fences and materials that was released alongside Update 12, which does also include Apatosaurus, Brontosaurus, and Ankylosaurus. And I also went around the park and changed some of the other fences around the park, with these new additions, which obviously I will showcase to all of you guys during the park showcase. So stay tuned for that. But now we're just, winding the fence around, making sure, it fits everywhere in the space, that there aren't any awkward gaps, the like. But it turns out it's too small, especially for the population number we're going to have in this enclosure, which is a total of 7 Ouranosaurs. So I have to go back and resize the enclosure, but that's an easy fix. Thankfully, I didn't spend too much time on this. All it was just add that little round sort of area there, which I would use as the place where I would put down the shelter for the Ouranosaurus. Once that was done, it was time to paint in the rest of the terrain. And with that, it was time to finally make the herd. So, for the suggested population, it's 2 males and 5 females. So, I breed 10 males and picked the 2 I like the most. And then it was time to add the females, and of course, repeat the same process, only with 5 instead of 2. And we got quite the variety of females in terms of skins and size and things like that. And now it was time to do the more painstaking part of this build, which is following an Ouranosaurus around and marking its path down using a different terrain paint. I do not show the entire process here, because I imagine for you guys it would get very boring really fast. But yeah. But of course, I don't just do the path. I also had to put down a feeder for them, and I'm going to put it right there by the viewing platform, where the guests could also potentially see the Carcharodontosaurus feed. So if the guests were really lucky, they would get the chance to see an Ouranosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus feeding at the same time, which would be really cool. And of course, as soon as I put that feeder down, all the Ouranosaurus came flocking over. It was quite the sight to see, actually. They do move in herds, but I do look forward to the day when herding and socializing does come to the game, which I'm pretty sure is in a very near future update, maybe. But once I got the feeder down and marked down hypothetical paths and connecting, where paths could be, I put down a pool. This is where they're going to be drinking from. Normally, when I make water features in these enclosures, I typically make waterfalls or rocky outcroppings, that sort of thing. But with this, I wanted to try to be a little bit different and not do too much. After all, this is going to be a very, very forested enclosure at the end of it. So once again, I'm marking down the paths of the Ouranosaurs. And as soon as I put that water down, they all immediately come to drink. This isn't actually enough water for them, because Ouranosaurus, oh my god, is a dinosaur that requires quite a bit of water. It's not to the degree of something like, say, Spinosaurus, but they do need quite a bit of water. And of course, I'm playing around with the terrain, raising it, lowering it, all that stuff, and also getting rid of, apparently, water that was hidden when I supposedly got rid of it. I did make a second pool off camera, but that was also because I didn't have the mindset of trying to record it when I was also marking down the paths of the Ouranosaurs. So yeah, oopsie poopsie. Again, I did so well with the Carcharodontosaurus build. I don't know why I've decided to switch back to my old habits. I guess old habits just die hard. But again, I'm just following the path of the Ouranosaurs, marking down where they are, and, you know, that sort of thing. And of course, the reason I do this is because these are going to be paths that indicate, oh, this is where our dinosaurs traveled. They must use this quite a lot. And the parts of the path that, the parts of the enclosures that aren't marked with paths, excuse me, had a little bit of a stroke up here, is going to be, you know, heavily forested. There's going to be a lot of vegetation and such where there isn't any path. But now, I take a break from building the paths because there's still quite a lot of them I need to do. And I'm now trying to come up with a shelter idea, which means I need an Ouranosaurus, and I picked the biggest one to pluck there, so I can get an idea of the space they're going to need in here. And I go through several styles. I originally wanted to go with a tropical one, like you see here, but there would later come an issue with this sort of idea, as it'll be more obvious in the future, and I sincerely hope it's something that can be resolved relatively quickly. And you can see it here. It's that the curved walls, they don't actually fit in nicely. Like, you can still see there are gaps in the walls, and that really, really, really bugged me. Like, that I couldn't get them perfect without, like, having to manually move them in tiny increments. So I decided that little wall build was not really going to go anywhere, and so I decided to test out some of the newer stuff, which is the rustic theme, which was, again, a part of the new update, and the walls fit perfectly. I don't know why I said pit. But now I'm resizing these little borders here along the sides of the wall because, you know, I'm OCD like that. And I also wanted to give the Ouranosaurus windows. Normally with my shelters, there aren't windows and stuff like that. But I also didn't want to put, like, lights or anything on the top. So this would be their way of getting natural light coming into the enclosure without the need of me putting lights on the ceiling or the walls or anything like that. So yeah, I basically just make windows while also trying to make a doorway. I also have to try to remember that even though they might be able to squeeze through, sometimes they might not be able to fit. I mean, the Spinosaurus speed build is kind of a big indication of, like, it may technically be able to work in real life, but this is also a game where hitboxes might not actually fit the animal. So I had to bear that in mind when making this. And I did find out during the park showcase, they can go through here. They're actually able to get inside. So, yeah, I actually managed to do good. Next up, it was time to build up the roof. Easy peasy. Not that difficult. And then it was time to put down some straw for them to sleep on. You know, in case they wanted, like, somewhere private to sleep. I put up some roof railings along the sides. And it's a nice little cozy sort of cottage shelter. I do also tinker a little bit with the doorway to make it, you know, seem like it fits. Of course, nothing is perfect. I try to be perfect, but it just doesn't work for me. And now we're moving on to the more natural side of the enclosure, building up that little rocky ledge. This wouldn't be a waterfall, it's just like a barrier between pools. And you know the drill at this point, you know, stretching rocks, turning rocks, sinking them into the ground, you know, the whole shebang. Also, you may have noticed this already, but for some reason the devs have updated the little symbol, the little icons for, like, when you're moving an object through the X, Y, or Z axis when you're just spinning it. I don't know why. I thought the system was fine at first, but if it's the dev's vision, then who am I to judge? Next, it was time to put some moss on there, color match it to the terrain, and also, color up the rock to match the actual rock terrain that was in the water. And then it was time to put in some plants, because Ouranosaurus really love these plants. I put some along the rocky ledge, as well as by the water's edge, because, it's gotta look natural to a degree. Even though I guess Ian Malcolm would say, we're trying to replicate a prehistoric world, but it isn't really working out because it's all artificial. Nothing in Jurassic World is natural, that sort of thing. And now I'm trying to put in some vegetation to fill in those gaps between the paths. And the Ouranosaurus are not really big fans of how little vegetation there is. And to me, this is a lot of vegetation. You have those ferns, you have palm trees and things like that. Apparently, it seems that these palms aren't actually enough. No matter what I did, I put them in the enclosure in bulk. I fill in every gap of the enclosure with this vegetation, and the Ouranosaurus just weren't having it. I initially thought that it was a bug in the game, because you'd think that with all these trees it would count towards the density, but apparently these trees are so thin they don't actually do much for an Ouranosaurus or really any big dinosaur. So all this work was basically for a lot of nothing at the end of the day. So what was the solution? Well, I had to make a more heavily forested enclosure. It is kind of a shame they didn't like this particular build, but that doesn't mean I can't use it again in the future. So we'll just save the idea for another time. So I decided, to add some pine trees, and the pine trees work. They're big enough and thick enough to count for the Ouranosaurus as a lot of density. So I just randomly place down pine trees, wherever there isn't a path. And, I like how this looks. It's nice, it's forested, it looks prehistoric, which is the aim we're trying to go for in this part. Once again, filling in all the gaps with these round plants and such. Wherever I think it's necessary, because these guys can take a lot of force, and I like dinosaurs that require a lot of force in their enclosures, because that means I can go crazy with the foliage. I put down another feeder, for them to interact with, so, they explore the entirety of the enclosure, and so guests can actually, have multiple opportunities of seeing them rather than see them, in a specific part of the park. And then it was time for me to be bold and add the new redwood trees. I think these are newly updated redwoods, and they look fantastic. I was a bit apprehensive about using them at first, but after putting them in the park, I can say these look great. It looks like, The Lost World Jurassic Park, which is a film I love more than any other. Then it was time to put down some water plants to fill out, the gap in this little pond area. And that is basically the Ouranosaurus enclosure done. I just raise up and lower the terrain and do some minor changes off camera. And with that, the Ouranosaurus enclosure is finally done. And it has decided to storm on this particular speed build, but hey-ho, we'll just chug through it. So before we do show off the Ouranosaurus enclosure, I do want to show a couple of changes I did make to the park. Thank you, Thunderstorm. So not much has really changed. I did change some of the fences, like here in the Sleetosaurus, it is now the new cable fence, which I'm really happy is finally in the game. I no longer have to bother trying to make my own, because that was super annoying trying to do it piece by piece on my own. The Dilophosaurus has this new wooden chain link thing, which is really nice. Much prefer this one over the previous one. And then over here we have this boreal sort of walk-in little attraction here. I've added these new wooden cave bear structures here, which look mighty dandy, if I do say so myself. I did also make a change to the Protoceratops enclosure. Now their fence is this rustic metal sort of fence, Lielanosaura. So I changed nothing about this, but with the new coastal biome, I did go a little crazy and added some new ferns and these beautiful looking flowers, which I gotta say look nice. And also, I added these tiny little logs for them to go through, like in and out, so they could hide and stuff. I think one of them might actually be coming through. No, never mind. Uh, and I also added another one over here. So now there's a bit more life to this enclosure. I'm definitely looking forward to the day when we have enrichment items in here, because that's going to change the game a lot. Now we move on to the Chem and the other, the formation Ouranosaurus is from. What was it? The Airhas formation. So these enclosures, this segment of the park is now over. It's done unless they add like Suchomimus or Parala Titan or something like that. But I did want to note a couple of changes I did make here. So I have given the Spinosaurs a cable fence rather than the iron bar fence, which looks much nicer. But unfortunately, there is a glitch at the moment that has unfortunately changed some of my mutated skins into average skins. So Nada was one of the dinosaurs affected. She's no longer elucistic, which is kind of unfortunate. But hey ho, I'm sure that'll be fixed. And if not, I'm sure we can make another one. The other issue is that there's currently a glitch where if you click on a dinosaur and if it's in water, it will kind of mirror itself, so it looks like there's two of them. It's weird. And the water will also zoom in and zoom out or disappear altogether. I don't know what happened, but this does typically happen with new updates, so hopefully that does get resolved. Another issue that I found from this update, again, it will get resolved, so not to panic, is that they're struggling to find water. Like they'll find water and they'll constantly get stuck and just go in circles and circles and circles and circles for so long. Like it's like the water's right there, drink. And because of this, they kind of starve and dehydrate themselves to the point where if death was in the game, they would have died for sure. So hopefully this gets fixed soon, and this also does affect the cinematic camera. Yeah, look, like that. That's a big old nope, Rooney. And also, I've had problems with staff not making it to their stations. I've had staff not come over to the enclosures to clean them when I had that thing on. And I've also had staff just stay in one area and not move. Again, these are all bugs that will eventually get fixed. But the one I thought would have been fixed by now is staff welfare. That should have been fixed a long time ago, and I don't know why it's still kind of an issue. Because I want welfare to be turned off. Oh, and look at that, the rain stopped, but it's still super foggy. But anyway, that's all the issues and all the changes I made to the park. I'm sure the devs will have this all fixed relatively soon. I mean, they did patch some things with the initial update, but there's still a lot that needs to be fixed. But anyway, it's time to view the Ouranosaurus enclosure. So, guests would walk through here, like alongside the Spinosaurus enclosure, and they'd get the opportunity to, check up some facts about the Ouranosaurus here. And also, view them with these goggles. Let's see. And if we go through here, there's another one of the Spinosaurus factoids. There's a gate for the keepers to go through. We have another screen there with information board. That's the word. Oh yeah, and I also changed the Carcharodontosaurus enclosure a little bit. I forgot to mention. There was a comment I got in the last video from Krotos Gaius that reads, and I quote, "The Chem formation where Carcharodontosaurus lived was a massive swamp. You could have placed a bit more trees." Well, Krotos Gaius, I hope this makes you happy. I added some more trees to the Carcharodontosaurus enclosure. In fact, I can't place down any more vegetation in this enclosure. Otherwise, these guys are going to get upset with me. So, per your comment, I did add some trees into the enclosure. And you know what? I actually like this new look. It actually makes it feel a lot more like a tropical rainforest sort of thing. let that be known, guys. I do read your comments. Every time I upload a video, I do read comments. So don't be afraid to leave a suggestion or something. I also know that in my last speed build, the audio wasn't too great. Hopefully I can have that fixed. Hopefully it's fixed now. I don't know. Hopefully it's been resolved. But, yeah, I've made this change to the Carcharodontosaurus enclosure, and it looks a lot more fuller. A lot more forested, which I'm okay with. I like this new look to the Carcharodontosaurus enclosure. Again, I said I shouldn't make modifications off-screen. But remember, I considered the Carcharodontosaurus enclosure done when I made that speed build. I wasn't expecting to get a comment saying, you know, giving this suggestion. So yes, if you guys have suggestions on what to do for the dinosaur enclosures, I will listen to them. Now, there was one other comment I got where that said, like, I could have put lily pads and such in the Spinosaurus enclosure. But honestly, I don't think I need to. Like, this already looks pretty serviceable enough for a Spinosaur habitat. Like, I wanted a lot of open water and, you know, reeds and mangroves and stuff, and I got that. I think this is the effect I wanted. But anyway, let's now go back to the Ouranosaurus build. Alright, so guests would come through here. They would have the chance to either come across an Ouranosaurus or Carcharodontosaurus, respectively, on either side. And I modified this little baby here to help with that, I guess. We have the Ouranosaurus information board right here, as well as a feeder, so guests can watch them eat. And of course, we have the one for the Carcharodontosaurus over here to watch them eat. Systematically placing them, so you could get possibly 2 dinosaurs here at the same time. And then you just continue through here, like facing through that, but don't mind that. And then we have all this vast open space. I have no idea what I'm going to do here, but if they do add stuff like Suchomimus or things like that, obviously I'll reserve the space for them. We have another sign over here for guests to come to. They would take this path here. They could get a glimpse of the shelter for the Ouranosaurus. And they would come all the way around to this nice restaurant over here. Again, I don't show me placing down buildings and stuff because, you know, that's not what you come here for. You come here to see the dinosaur enclosures. Although, if you guys want to see me build any building, I don't particularly enjoy it, but if you guys want to see it, by all means, leave it in the comments. Again, I do check the comments. This is also part of the new update, where it's a new modular prefab that the devs have made for tropical restaurants, and it looks fantastic. I absolutely love this. What do we got here? We got fries. We got fruit. No meat. What kind of establishment are we running here? Oh, wait. Hold on. There's meat here, I guess. Hold on. Let me look. Ooh. Oh, yummy donuts. Oh, yeah, I'd gladly eat right here. The guests could also sit here and watch our Ouranosaurus from where they sit, which I think is a cool idea. And also hear, like, the gurgling cry of the Spinosaurus in the distance. And we have another information board over here with a donation box. You crash through the jungle, and then, boom, you're right back to where the journey started. And you can do the whole loop all over again. But now, let's enter the actual Ouranosaurus enclosure. So we go through here. Well, where's the gate, actually? Hold on. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. Okay. I found the gate. So the keeper will go through here. They have to walk along this path of substrate and pine needles. I don't know why that station's unguarded now. You see, this is what I mean about lazy staff. They just go away. They bugger off. We have dung beetles here to clean up their poop. They have not these paths here, which indicate, you know, these are where they have traveled the most. Even though clearly they don't, they still walk through the grass. We have a feeder over here that is right up to the fence, and the guests can watch them come through. Yeah, look at this girl. She is so cool. I love this skin for the Ouranosaurus. Is it realistic? No, but I love it. I love brightly colored dinosaurs, so of course I'm going to go for that one. Then the Ouranosaurus, you know, they have this little pool over here that they could drink from. I really like how it turned out. I didn't know how I was going to feel about Ouranosaurus having a redwood forest, but this actually works. Oh! I've never seen them actually go inside the shelter. Oh, thank God they can get in here. Oh, and they can sleep in here too. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy they can come in here now. Again, this is very bare bones. I don't usually make shelters and such, but I'm so happy they're using it. Anyway. Yeah, but they can drink through here. They have water. No waterfalls or anything, just a pool in a forest. And they could go around here. There's another pool there for them to drink from. And then, of course, we have their feeder right over here, where the guests can view them from the safety of the glass, which probably is close as they're ever going to get to these dinosaurs. And, yeah, that is the Ouranosaurus enclosure done. And, for the time being, all the African exhibits that I had planned for this little section are done. Again, unless they add like something like Suchomimus or something like that. Or maybe even Majungasaurus. I know Majungasaurus isn't from mainland Africa, and I know it was late Cretaceous. But still, it'd be pretty cool to have like an Abelisaur, well, any Abelisaur really, in the park. But yeah, like a Majungasaurus like over here or something like that would be really cool. Or we could use this for Suchomimus if they ever added that. But yeah, that is the Ouranosaurus, and by default, Carcharodontosaurus, Spinosaurus, the African dinosaur sector of the park, done. So the next build we're going to do, we are going to be building a dinosaur park formation recreation. Damn, never make me say that fast, please. I think we're going to expand the park over here a little bit. And what we're going to do is going to be a joint enclosure that will have 3 different genera. We're going to have Prehistoric, Lambeosaurus, and Styracosaurus all together. This is going to be our first joint enclosure. It makes sense for us to use those 3 because they live together. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do next. And then after that, I have a poll going on my channel right now asking you guys if the next sector of the park should be the Hell Creek Formation, which is where I'm going to have the Triceratops and Montosaurus and Ankylosaurus, which is just added to the game, and, of course, Tyrannosaurus Rex. So if you guys want the Hell Creek build and you want the T-Rex in the park, vote in the poll. Or if you don't want it yet, because I also want to know if the devs will eventually release Pachycephalosaurus. I know Prenocephale was on the cards, but I don't know if that's still going to be in the game, or if they're going to replace it with Pachycephalosaurus like they did with Nothronicus and things like that. So I'm hoping that Pachycephalosaurus gets added to the game. And if it does, we can always add it to the Hell Creek Formation sort of enclosures. But I want to know, should I wait and see if Pachycephalosaurus becomes a possibility? Or do I go ahead and build it now, and if Pachycephalosaurus does get added, we can just squeeze it into the sector? You guys let me know. And also vote in the pool. But anyway, that is where we are going to be ending this video. I have updated the Steam Workshop. So now you can get this version of the map. This version of the build. And see for yourself. So yeah. If you enjoyed it and you're looking forward to seeing more Prehistoric Kingdom, leave a like, subscribe today, hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything new. All my links are in the link tree in the description down below. And until next time, this is Tyrannosaurus signing off. Alrighty then. Take care now. Bye-bye then.